welcome to my beautiful channel. My name is TeacherOLA. If you're coming here and joining us for the very first time, I want to say a warm welcome. And if you've been following me for a while, you know some of my journey, then please welcome, take a beautiful seat that belongs to you. So in today's video, I will be touching on the struggles that people are likely to face when they want to get their teacher registration done here in Australia. I've personally gone through my own part of all of this. I know the hurdles, I know the pains, I know the immense amount of stress that I had to go through to get to where I am today. So what took me from point A to point B might be different for other people because everyone's circumstance is not going to be the same. There's always going to be varying differences and varying solutions. So I'll just put that out there real quick. Talking about that, that's the reason why this video is sectioned into a couple of different parts, because I'm going to be leaning into the experiences of African people just as myself, as well as people from other parts of the world who may also be going through a couple of similarities with these challenges that we're all having getting into Australia and registering as a teacher. In Australia, the teacher registration body varies by state to state. So if you live in New South Wales, for example, the agency that would be responsible for assessing your qualifications and just really checking to ensure that you will be a good fit for their education sector will be different from if you're living in South Australia or if you're living in Victoria, for example. And even though they are different, the requirements to register are similar in a lot of ways. First of all, one of the things that bind them all together is that there must be, for that person who is applying, there must be a 4-year teacher education program that you've completed at the time of registering to be a teacher. And that's where it gets really complicated for a lot of people. I said I was going to start with looking at how it is for varying people. So let's go talk about the people who are from Africa. I'm from Nigeria and I've got a lot of friends from Nigeria, and I know the struggles that they've gone through. I also know for myself as well. But for the better part of Africa, the challenge is a bit more. So let's talk about why that's even the reason. Even though a lot of African countries, particularly those in the western part, speak English as their official language, this is not highly recognized in other parts of the world. So we do see people questioning if English is the official language for example, a country like Nigeria or Ghana, Sierra Leone, as the case may be. This language is obviously the one that's used for trade, communication, business, but that's not highly recognized. There's also the problem of economy. Many of these countries are suffering. Many people outside of the shores of Africa still assume that a better part of Africa is a third world village, and so because of this, there's this downcast into how the qualifications that come out of these countries are looked at. In my experience, my qualification, even though I studied for 4 years in a teacher program, I was downgraded. I would say downgraded because that's how I felt. I was downgraded to holding a diploma, and that really took me back several steps, because coming here I had so much dreams. I wanted to really be in front of a classroom. I am and I'm still a people person. I've always inspired children and teenagers in the country where I come from, and so I thought it was going to be a smooth ride, but lo and behold, it was shocking. And because of this, I had to really go back and start to do everything from scratch. I had to start digging deep. I'm super grateful for all the mentors that I had who held my hand throughout this stage of my life. Now, going back real quick, so if you're coming from Africa, Kenya, Ghana, Rwanda, you will expect to also face similar situations. There are a few exceptions, but trust me, it doesn't apply for majority of people. So let's say if you're coming from a top tier university in those countries, you might be able to get away with it. But for me, I went to a private university and I wasn't even part of those who were considered top tier at all. Even though I did come up with a distinction at uni, it still didn't make much of a difference. For people who come from other Western countries like the UK, in the UK there's something known as the qualified teacher status. Now the qualified teacher status really helps to put a stamp on for everyone who is able to get their foot in the door as an educator in the US. So you're able to be a secondary school teacher or a primary school teacher. Your qualification has been assessed. However, you do need to do a reassessment here in Australia, and your QTS does not automatically translate into adequate or sufficient qualification or having the appropriate skills that you need to actually be in front of a classroom here. Crazy, right? I know. And that's how it is, and that's how it's been for a lot of people. And it's even worse for those who are in the US. The US generally has a structure where the bachelor's program is just for 3 years. So whether it's in education or maybe other areas as well, you would generally be required to do a bachelor's program for 3 years. And so when you're trying to migrate into another country and try to be an educator in that country, and you're being asked to come with a full year qualification that includes an initial teacher education program, it does get a bit tricky, because at this point you're like, it's not my fault, that is the way it is in the country that I'm coming from. So let's talk about how people get around all of this. In my experience, I had to do further education. I think I made a video about that a couple of years ago, a couple of months ago, where I really shared my journey. It was a really stressful part of my life because I had to put things on hold. I had to put my dreams on hold. I had to, really wait until I was grounded. Luckily, it gets to a part where I do that program where I can actually get something known as a permission to teach. So it's not a full license. It's just we recognize you because you're now studying to be a teacher. But it didn't really give me all the full benefits to be a teacher as much as I would have liked. And so you might find that that's the same thing you may need to go through. I've seen people register to do pathway programs. The most common one would be the postgraduate diploma in education, as well as a master's degree in education. So if you're looking for something that's a bit more quicker, you might want to lean towards the postgraduate diploma. However, that does come with a clause, and you do need to be really careful, because I've seen a couple of people get stuck in programs that doesn't end up getting them to where they want to go. So it doesn't take them from point A to point B in, of course, being a licensed teacher here in Australia. And that is that you need to really look out for how many days of supervised teaching practice is obtainable within that program. So this is the thing. In Australia, you do need to have a 45-day mandatory supervised teaching practice done in your program. So whether it was at the bachelor's level, or if you're doing further education, in this case, which would be a postgraduate or a master's, you do need to have a minimum of 45-day teaching practice in that program. Some universities or some providers might give you 20 days, some might give you 30 days. If you know that you want to come to Australia to teach, you need to stay away from that program, because that's going to get you stuck. I mean, after spending the amount of money, all the time you've wasted, and you've probably had to move things around in your life, and only coming to realize that you will not be able to use that qualification could be heart-wrenching. And I've seen people, and I still know people, who are stuck in that and having now to go further again into maybe a master's program to get that part of things covered out. So you don't want to get into all of that mess. Really make sure you're looking into which programs will get you those 45-day teaching practice. I'm going to make another video really soon where I'm going to be recommending a couple of programs that I know that people have done, 1 year, 14 months, 16 months, as the case may be. Some of them even possibly to be done online, where you can where it is really recognized, and you can use that to get that part of things out of the way. So Everyone's journey, like I said before, is absolutely going to be different. We all have different stories and different backgrounds, but on a general scale, that is what most people would have to do, which is to do further education. So there is also the part about, English language requirements, but I'm also going to be making a separate video about that. So if you would like to see more content like this, please hit the subscribe button, share with your friends, and do not forget to leave comments if you have questions, as that might just inspire another video. Thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye.